Hello, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice. And, of course, we're playing as Germany. Now, I really like it if you could help me with something, please. Please help me. Just to give you a little background. There's new beta version to get your stats and stuff. And I recently saw one of my videos about a couple days after it had been released spike up from views because somehow, for some reason, it got on the suggested, on this right side of your screen, suggested videos on another game review videos for something else entirely. And that got me a lot of views for that one video briefly. And this is what I've long thought, that yes, I see my videos in the suggested videos. Many of you see them there too because you're a frequent viewer of this channel, so it does it. But outside of that, even to other people that are playing Hearts of Iron 3, other, or Hearts of Iron 4, or just World War II and other similar sorts of games, it's not getting suggested. So you could really help me out if right now, if you were to hit that like button, and if you were to also, well, I know this is another step, another big step, hit that, or make a comment. Just say hi, H-I, or something. I'll say hi back. That shows community engagement, and it really increases their bots, their algorithms to go, hey, this video may really be something we should show to other people. That's all. I would really like you to hit that like button right now and just make a comment of hi or something else, whatever. Don't care too much, like keep it pleasant, but don't care too much. Just, if you would, hit that like button and make a comment, because I'd really like to grow this channel. Doesn't need to be super big, but needs to be a bit bigger than it currently is. So if you do that for me, I'll keep making videos for you. So please do that. Thanks so much. Now, let's continue this. Okay. We are continuing our siege here of Moscow. It has considerably long way to go, it seems, as you come down here. Up. Major victory. Don't know. We'll see what that is in just a second. But you can see down towards the bottom, a lot of still areas in green. So that. But up here, you can see some sort of daylight. Only a few divisions left to defeat. Okay, so this wasn't a major victory. Oh, good. They held the line there. Just barely, but they held the line. And they're going to get... Okay, really running out of fuel here. Yeah. Now, in a way, I really don't mind running out of my fuel out here so much, because this is obviously at the end of a very long supply chain. I've been chatting back and forth with a few of the people who do post comments, and I understand that a lot of people may not have a lot to say, and they're just checking in on the stuff once in a while, so it's not a bad thing not to post comments, but like I said, really appreciate it if you did. Talking about the supply situation. What I think is sort of going on is that the reason now, so notice we have 30,000+ fuel, 60,000+ supply, and at times recently, within days, it's been down to 0 or whatever. Not just because particularly supplies sometimes go negative because of events happening. It's because it sees, oh, we need supplies in this province. Let's say there was a bigger stack here. So it starts sending supplies out there. Then I move the unit or whatever to some other location. It goes, oh, well, we don't need those there anymore. And they get halfway there. And okay, well, send it back to the capital. And it's sort of lost in the system. Now, each time it moves from province to province, including, I believe, back, though I know out, just not absolutely sure about back, it gets a supply tax, meaning they remove a portion of the supply and fuel to simulate transportation requirements, and that's perfectly good. But it's the sending back and forth, so you're getting taxed. And I've been talking a bit in the live chat and a few other places that we really need railroads, and obviously they're not going to work on this one. And we can sort of see them somewhat simulated, but if we look at this, and then we look at this, let's look right here, that province. Let's see if we can, you can see here, there's no supply here, where we have two guys here, but there's supply here. And we can see the, here the situation. Here is supply is going to flow so much smoother through here, but for some reason it's choosing to go through here. We can see that here. And why is there supply here? Require daily supply, receive supply, that is sort of moving through, and I don't even understand entirely what all these receive supply, what's required daily supply. There's nothing here. You know, what's requiring. We can see the local fuel and, well, local daily required daily supply and fuel equals to the current local supply limits. So yeah, but so it's not using where it can do the most efficiently. But had you have railroads and have supply move along railroads, and in Hearts of Iron 4, okay, you don't actually have supply in the game, at least not yet. I know they're bringing back fuel, that's great. I still hold out hopes for supply. And they also calculate supply on the state level, which is somewhat aligned to this, not entirely. States are often bigger than this, but the idea of this, which is, in my opinion, just simply a cop-out for proper development of the game. So that if you were to do supply effects and have it traced along railroads, and then infrastructure, which is we see here, and my whole idea is, I know I should be playing, but I'm getting very passionate about this the more I think about it, not just now, but generally speaking. Infrastructure should, in Hearts of Iron 4, I know you're a Hearts of Iron 3 player, but I hope someday Hearts of Iron 4 is so much better than 3 that we'll all want to play 4. I just think, and you know, sort of one of those things is, and a lot of people, you know, have it is, yeah, you know, this is just fine, this is good, I'm enjoying this, and then, oh, we'll try this new thing out. No, it's not perfect and whatever, but it's okay, it's good, we're playing along, but you know, that old one was so much better, you know, and then you go back and play the old one and goes, man, this sucks. Well, so far this doesn't suck, because I'm playing, I just got done yesterday playing 5 hours of Hearts of Iron 4 Black Ice, and today I'm back playing Hearts of Iron 3, and this doesn't suck. So, but someday I hope this will suck in comparison to Hearts of Iron 4. And I know Das G sometimes watches this channel. I don't think Oh My God really does. And who are putting a tremendous effort into developing Hearts of Iron 3 still. May not like that sentiment, but I really, really look forward, and you can see the great difference here. Look forward to what Hearts of Iron 4 could be one day. And so, and I want to make some videos on this, and maybe that's where I should talk more about this. But the idea is that your supply effects would be affected by railway levels and infrastructure levels. You could only strategic redeploy and faster than you do in Hearts of Iron 3, but depending on where, maybe slower, maybe faster than on Hearts of Iron 4. It's just too fast right now in Hearts of Iron 4, in my opinion. I know that can be slowed down in the defines file, but to strategically deploy, you must start, move along, and end in a province with a railway. So whatever the path is, but you can't. So to strategically redeploy must be along a railway path, and levels and speeds and what would be worked out on the levels of railroad, where infrastructure would determine how fast you can move through regular movement. So moving through, say, these German mountains, because here would have a lot better roads and infrastructure than, say, these Ethiopian mountains with barely any dirt tracks anywhere. Even if the terrain, the steepness of the mountains, the cliffs, and the hard, the difficulty in moving through this and that Austrian province, let's just say all things being equal, simply here the maybe entirely lack of a road that is at all designed to take in the whole province, maybe they don't even have, in this thing, anything that would be considered a road for wheeled vehicles. I mean, not that there isn't something that would be considered a track that's somewhere for wheeled vehicles, but in some of these places, they hardly have wagons around in the world, and where they do, they're very limited use. And they have lots of tracks that are for animals, and humans. When my granddad had a ranch, there were lots of cow trails, would go up around the sides of the hills, all over the sides of the hills, because they maintain cattle. They would wear trails, and you sort of weave up and around the hills, because the cows wander these hills looking for food. And there's sort of naturally developed cow trails. And so as if you sort of walked up the hill, you could walk straight up it, but that'd be silly because you'd be tripping over and climbing over all kinds of bushes and rocks and whatever else. But the cows who wandered it for a while sort of worn trail. So that there's sure lots of trails for these guys who have mountain troops, who have maybe a little bit better mountain capabilities than regular divisions, but still their movement rates in Austria, where there are proper paved roads in a provincial size area. Obviously this province is in and of itself is way too big. Compared to Europe, it should be cut into at least 3, if not 4 provinces. That's part of the problem with both Hearts of Iron 3 and 4. Somewhat better in Hearts of Iron 4 for all of its problems with the state mechanisms and large air zones, which there are those. They've done some better work outside of Europe on some of the overly large provinces, though they've made European provinces a bit too big. Generally speaking, a province should be no larger than an operational area of a division. Now, of course, you can take a division and put a brigade here, put a brigade here, and put a brigade there. But that is not how divisions operate in that large of a field. They are much more, my understanding is much more this. Now, sometimes maybe they get a little bit tight. Sometimes it should be tight because it's a city province and it's have very, very different environment than the immediate surroundings, so it might be a small city province. And cities, and this is one thing I did learn in my military training, urban combat absorbs lots of troops because it's very three-dimensional and it's very close. Your lines of sight are very short, often a block, and so you need lots of troops where you can get out here. Now, get out here. You've got long lines of sight, so fewer troops can watch and combat over much larger zones of areas effectively. So infrastructure and terrain would affect your standard movement rates, but terrain would not affect your strategic redeployment rates. Because if you have a superhighway of a railway through the most rugged mountains or swamps or jungles, those trains, if you consider it a very high level of railway development, can zip right through them. They are not, generally speaking, dependent upon the terrain. You can talk about being snowed in Russia in trains and other places like that. Yeah, that winter effects could come into it, but not terrain effects, whether you're plains or your forests. That doesn't affect railway movement. And if you're highly in the province has high levels of rail infrastructure, they also have lots of platforms for unloading people, which are troops, and cargo, which are supplies and tanks, so they have all that kind of stuff for deploying out. So that's how I would do that, and this is just, in my opinion, screams for railways. Okay, we've got into here now. Are we supplying? I don't actually remember. I think I did get, yes. So we are both supplying in and out. Yes, we control the Mediterranean single engine airframe. Research has advanced. Very good. And since we're only in 43, let's stop that. Already got those sort of pushed up. These we do need to. Oh, okay. Yes, thanks for stopping. I know we're behind on a lot of these. Let's do fire control. That's something that will upgrade. Okay. Good. We've won here. Small fuel tank research has advanced. Very good. Let's come over here and increase damage control. And carrier damage control has been improved, and we will let that continue. We are building a couple more carriers. And that is something I do believe will upgrade. Django's been helping me out with some ideal fleet combinations for Hearts of Iron 4. Just checking to make sure we're not shattering any units. Just make sure we're not shattering any units, preferably. Okay, the 25th. Thought I'd spot it easier. Why am I not seeing the 25th Panzer Division? Oh, there it is somehow. Now, if some of these symbols are giving you a problem, you can go in and adjust this. You see here when, well, okay, you see here, when we're here, we can see that this is a shield with a cross on it, representing it. But when you zoom out, it reverts to that. You can adjust the level of zoom in which this is shown. So you can't, again, somebody recently asked this, and I don't know that it was in the, I think in the tutorial videos that I make, so they may not be watching the series. But, so this is obviously without any headquarters or other special symbols. This one has this, but you can adjust it so that sooner, and it could be almost 100% zoomed in, it will only show that symbol, whatever the sort of alternative symbol there is. So that can be adjusted if you are having trouble figuring out what units are what. Okay, well, hopefully they'll be able to hold out. I don't want to have them overrun. That is a little bit of the problem with some of this. Okay, you stop. You're getting both pounded from the air and the ground, and it's a bit too much for you right now with that huge stack. You keep pushing that way. You come back around this way. Okay, yes, we are dealing with this as soon as we can. Okay, we've won there. Again, with these units, great. Heavy anti-aircraft armament on ships. We'll stop that. Let's look at our capital ships. Damage control. Yeah, we have troops here now, which are going to maybe be facing these. Well, you come, oh, okay, they're coming overland, so that's okay, I guess. You come up here, I think. Yes, you may have energy. How are we doing for fuel? Okay, we've seemed to have now, currently at least, dealt with our rare material problems. We're still dealing with our fuel problems. Okay, we've won here, which means these guys will be able to retreat out. To some degree, I know what to do about the fuel for these guys out here. It just, I don't think I can. Well, how do I put this? I need the long-range transport aircraft to transport enough supplies to keep up the siege of Moscow. If not, I could build an air bridge to here, and from there I could get much of this terrain, and maybe there's another airport, well, maybe another here. And I could do air, and I really badly want to do that, but I want to get Moscow, and then once we get Moscow, of course, if we look at currently diplomacy, scroll down to the Soviet Union. Okay, they're at 73%. Okay, go to where's here? Okay, we won there. Yes, we know that. And if we come here, victory point, we can look and see Moscow is 20. And Leningrad is 20, and if my limited math skills work out, that's 40, and that should put over the 100%. So I sort of kind of think once we achieve that, we've achieved victory. Okay, and we've just been victorious in Leningrad, which means that these guys will have a little bit of a fight here with a teeny bit of Soviet forces there. And we're going to create a supply convoy. Let's go, where's Seton? There's Seton. It's a little north of Berlin, up to Leningrad. And we can see here now, stop, you don't want to go into that city right now. Has really bad, everything because such heavy fighting there, but will get better in time. I did fire the regional infrastructure improvement while still not holding Leningrad, so it's not a full 10, but I think 8 will, once it works, will move supply better. Okay, we've under attack here. Okay, we went down there, and we went there, and we are now getting this. Okay, allies have landed in northern France. I guess this is a Dieppe type raid. Okay. We also get a bunch of stuff gained. After military successful German troops, the second campaign in Russia, and that the Allies react with a landing in northwestern France to open up a second front. We need to react swiftly and decisively. The OKW already release alarm units. Okay. I feel better that I can't read it because it's a German term, I guess. Well, where are the units in northern France? Oh, here. Okay. 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 Oh. This is one of the alarm units. Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna do it without a commander because I don't want to disrupt his. Okay, that's that one, and that's that one. Nice. Now these units are okay in that they have a rather good equipment, but they're sort of hollow in that they don't have a lot of manpower resources that you have by having a full proper unit. And so we're going to start sending you guys to deal with this. So they get they didn't get an port, which is good. I think that would have been a little overkill. By not having a port means that they have to take mine, or they will run out of fuels and supplies. I did not know that was coming, but I knew something very well could. That's why I sent them up to there. We'll get some headquarters and attach a bunch of these guys here. Because this, to me, is looking like, I guess what, there's 5 divisions there. See, well, where are their main? 5 reconnaissance, 5 HQs, and of course I have the military police are mine. Okay, 3, I guess 3 infantry brigades. And okay, well, not that scary, but still. These guys hopefully will be able to take it. Okay, we now control the Gulf, not Grove. Gulf of Finland, because we now have Leningrad, which is major. So leadership, modifier, and resources. I would say the resources, of course, represents much better shipping, partially through Leningrad, but just in the idea that we control all of this area means it's so much easier to ship, especially coming from up here. Lots of stuff. Okay, well, we'll get to all this. Pistamo here, which has some resources and whatever else. Part of it is the literally mining it out of the ground. Part of it is the shipping to where it needs to go, effectively. Baltic Sea Kriegsmarine Training Area effect. So I guess I haven't seen this one before. We get this in that there is no longer an enemy port. It's all friendly port in the Baltic, so we can train, and be fully ready. That was a really important element in the Napoleonic Wars. I know I should probably be talking about this to the Napoleon Total War series, but not enough of you watch it, so I'll talk about it here. The French, during the Napoleonic and before the Napoleonic Wars, generally speaking, built better sailing ships than the English. The English often, once they captured some French ships and got them, and they captured lots, and the French captured a few English ships, but once they captured some French ships and put them into British service, they would find that they actually sailed faster than similar British ships, and they really could sort of, get on board and compete with them, and not just go, oh, it's the trick of the wind or the trick of whatever, and that they would, in essence, race each other, and get in similar positions and do it, so that they took the ships, anyways at times out of the water just to scrape all the crud, barnacles and mussels and whatever else, seaweed on the bottom of the ships. They got the ships out and got the lines, especially the underwater portions of the ship, copied down and used it to influence English ships, being built on French lines, at least in many ways. Now, gunnery, particularly the way the guns were, mounted and used on the ships, the English were so much better than the French, even during the whole period. So some things the English did better, some things the French did better, and the French, had decent seamen and decent captains. They, under the pre-Napoleonic War era, they suffered from having noble captains. It was very much of a class system, where the English, quite honestly, it was rare, but there was captains of ships that came up that had been the common sailors. Now, that's quite true. That's quite rare. But there was a lot more that had been maybe not quite common sailors, but were, not starting out as officers either. And that's sort of, in a way, you would sort of call them common sailors in that they weren't officers or whatever, and they hadn't earned any sort of NCO type things when they start out, but they were sort of like gentlemen volunteers and other things, and they were often coming in before they were even midshipmen. So they had that, and that was rare. But most of the officer class, though, was non-noble, and most of it was by certain levels of certain social status, but a lot of it was by merit, and so you came up that way for the officer class. So the English did much better than the French. But as basic seamen, there were plenty of good French seamen. France had significant overseas colonies and lots of overseas trade. But during peacetime, most ships were, naval ships were unused. They were laid up in ordinary, is what the English called it. Basically they were sort of put into reserve status, and all their masts were taken down, not just their sails, but their masts were taken down, the guns removed from the ship, all the stores, and they were just sort of sealed over to some degree to keep the weather out of some parts of them, and they're just floating in different harbors around. And so most of these ships weren't used during peacetime. And so you have, in both nations, you have a small peacetime professional naval class. Once the war starts, you've got to get your ships trained up. Now, both nations had a relatively large pool of sailors that they would draft, press was the term at the time, into naval service. And so, by doing so, they got them, capable sailors, as well as also landsmen, just people, off the street that weren't sailors. But still, you've got to train them into a unit. Well, the British could do this quite well because they could sail around to do things. But what they would do is they would start immediately blockading French ports. And so if the French, particularly in Brest, is where a lot of this happened, wanted to come out, there was an immediate battle. So they didn't have an area to just sail around and train in. So that they were often, their crews, although drilled in port, weren't necessarily good as a cohesive unit, even if all the individuals may be professional, commercial sailors and fishermen and other similar sorts of jobs. Now, by having the Baltic for Germany, they can sail around without, coming out in the North Sea, because we can see like at Jutland, when, the German fleet did sally forth, the British came out, so if, you start sailing the Bismarck and the Tirpitz and whatever around in the North Sea, trust me, the British will come out and attack them. And we're still finishing up this little combat. But, so having a better training zone can really help out. Just simply having that training zone can really help out. Okay. The 15th Waffen Grenadier Division der SS, Italian. Okay, excellent, good. Again, formation of the 1st Latvian. Oh, this is not Italian. This is a Latvian. Okay, good. We're getting that. Sort of been worried about some of these things not firing because they may be triggered to needing to be not just Germany controlling the provinces, but maybe at war with the Soviet Union. And I want all the cool SS divisions. Okay. A new battle commander has entered the field. Great. We'll get another one of those. Tanganyika. We have retaken our colony of Tanganyika. General Letter von Vobeck is back in command of our troops in East Africa. There are many veterans of the Schutz troop still remain, and we can train many new recruits. Again, tell the story, and I've told it before, that I read, that after World War II, the West German government decided that it should pay, this is, I don't know, I think sometime in the 50s, I forget, to pay the pensions of these guys. Which I think Germany was paying for a while until the first major economic collapse. And then, of course, under the Nazis and whatever, once Germany got its economic back, they didn't care about paying Africans off. So the West German government decided to pay the pensions of these guys, but just in lump sum. So they sent down some people down there to Tanzania at the time to do it. And some guys showed up with bits and pieces of uniform. Some guys showed up with some documentation that, said that they were, old Schutztruppe, they're Askaris. And others just showed up and didn't have any of this stuff, just for, it's been so long. Not necessarily well-developed environment to saving paper and saving cloth and such. So they decided they were wondering, how could we determine who really is one of these guys? And I think most of them that turned up really were these guys, but how to tell who they were. So one guy who was not a Tanganyika veteran, but just a World War II veteran, which obviously many Germans were, got a bunch of brooms and passed them out to the guys and had them do the order of arms, attention, right shoulder arms, left shoulder arms, about face, port arms or whatever, but saying the commands in German, because although these troops were never taught to speak German, as far as I know, I'm sure that there was some NCO type class that could speak some German, and of course there were some German officers and NCOs that could speak whatever local African languages here. Swahili, I think, is maybe more up in Kenya. A lot of Americans, especially back in the 60s, got Swahili stuck in their head as the African language. It was really popular for blacks, African Americans, whatever you want to call them, to learn Swahili. And so that was a really big thing. One little problem with that. I would say it's almost to the level of 0 American slaves that came to America ever were of the Swahili language speaking groups, whether you call them Swahilis or whatever, because it's Swahilis from over here in Kenya and maybe Tanganyika, Tanzania. Don't know exactly how far it is, but they were all West Africans. That's an East African language. It's a West African because very different words for things, very different languages. So yeah, but so I don't know what they spoke down here, but they were taught all of the manual of arms and to fire and ceasefire or whatever, all in German, so that a German officer can come out and say, attention, right face, forward march, whatever, in German. And so they knew all the marching commands in German. So that's how they did that. So, and there were a fair number of, now this is by the time of the 50s, so 10, 20 years later from this time period, that they were able to come up with it. That's sort of why I thought that we should give them, well, we could look at this, and we should give them this. Which is a, so can we, yeah, okay, that's in range of Rommel up there. Give them some additional troops for basically free. And I take the equipment as captured British equipment. So it's all free. No, I want my industrial capacity. Defense research report. Major breakthrough. Great. Now let's quickly here. I want to make sure that nothing is pushed too far forward. Okay. Good. Harris Group A North seizes Leningrad. Good. Get another descent and whatnot for the Soviet Union. German police and security forces designated regions where, okay, various, Schicker, Rungstruppen, West Ruthian. Okay, West Ruthian. I think that's somewhere in vaguely Russia or whatever. No, we're already down in the naval. Up. There we are. Okay, that's sort of White Russia. Okay, cool. And that deploy the Army Corps. I just made another Army Corps in Norway, but okay. The Fuhrer demands more tanks. The Fuhrer demanded in a proclamation on the 22nd of January 1943 from the German armaments industry and its workers and tremendous increase in the production of tanks and armored fighting vehicles. The order of the Fuhrer was issued after contentious and horrific tank losses on the Eastern Front in North Africa, together with the anticipated rising of the impact of the American war potential in 43. In 1943, narrow any option of the German victory, notably, if not a significant increase in fighting power on the battlefields, could be achieved, as well as the Fuhrer order gave Speer the opportunity to increase further his direct influence on German war production priorities. The program also carried an important propagandistic stimulus for German population. Several large new tank factories were projected and built in impressive short time frames, as well as other production lines were discontinued in favor of assembly lines for the production of new German tanks and armored fighting vehicles. Okay, let's see here. So, again, this sort of goes back to my point, is that Germany could readily have increased all of this before the war, earlier in the war. Yes, this is a total war economy, which in a real practical sense couldn't have been achieved before the war, but there is a significant level between this total war economy and the pre-war, say, tank and aircraft and other buildups that they could have meant somewhere in the middle with still keeping everything going. Okay, so we lose some metal and supplies. We have definitely the metal, obviously, and the supplies currently, more than enough. Lose some in descent, gain some in unity, get the Harris program until August 43, which reduces but increases armor build speed. The war will be won soon, no need. Well, we do have 2 SS Panzer divisions here, a Panzer Grenadier division, and that's it. Oh, Fyodor, that was the new battle commander. Okay, so no, I'm not needing a rush on tanks right now. I don't need 5% hit to my ICs. I'm not saying this is bad. Don't know if 4% is worth it, but in speed, okay. Raise the Jägerschwalder from... Okay, we'll do that. German-Bulgarian trade agreement of 1943. Use economic means with them. I don't want to lose the money, so we're going no. Units of the Third Reich, SS paper divisions. Division insignia are my design and are based on their name. You will get events to form the divisions with some backgrounds for reasons why the logo is what it is. Do you want to form the SS paper divisions? We're going to say yes, and I did talk to Alexei a little bit about this back at the time and whatnot. And there's some of the stuff that he's done here. There's also a map that was created right around sometime in very late 43 or 44, I should say, very late 44 or 45. That was a wartime, made by the SS fantasy map of things that had very real units on it, but also had, sometime in 45, ex-Turkoman SS division or something that never existed, or if there was ever any, because you got to remember, the bombings destroyed lots of paperwork, but also the SS and others burned lots and lots and lots of records and paperwork. So there are lots of records, even with the German mania for maintaining detailed records. There's lots of records that we are missing. That some of these units may have technically been formed and created, but they were never had a proper division of manpower and equipment and whatever else. They may have had 10 Turkomans standing around somewhere that were officially part of some SS Turkoman division or something. I don't have them all in my head. Where this is what some of this is coming from, what was also on that map that they do. So we will take these. And so there was, so I call them fantasy stuff in that it was an SS, dream to have these. It wasn't fantasy as in post-war or other sorts of that type of thing, but and oh, come on, okay. So we want to increase the range. That's particularly why I want to do those. There we go. Now, what is left to us is Moscow. Okay, the 35th. Now maybe I can find that quicker. There it is. You found that quick. No, I didn't know where it was. I was just starting there. Okay. I want to get some of these better divisions for battling into Moscow. And some of these border gore will be cleaned up by the surrender events, but no, you come down here just to frustrate their advance. You can hold out there. You're pushing up there just fine. You can put it come that way, I think. Some of it may not be cleaned up, but I want to get it cleaned up if I can. Yes, Gulf of Finland's doing well with taking them out. Still a lot of transports. Yeah, liners. Now, it was suggested to me to have Japan come into this now, and that they may take up some of the territory here, but what, quite honestly, I'm worried a little bit more about, and we're not seeing very well, because we don't have Manchukuo in the axis, so I don't know what the border's like along here, whether it's this vacant or there's a bit more. It could be a really big mistake and we could lose terrain, and I don't think it's needed to win. Not this time. Sometimes I have, but... Okay, Vomag! Volkländische Maschinenfabriken AG. Okay. Initially had 6 buildings for tank production, but in 41 expanded again with the construction of a huge Panzerhalle, which was finally completed in 43. Vomag initially produced the heavy half-track, and so I can go the SDKF Z9, yes, but the Sonderkraftfahrzeugens or whatever, I don't know however you pronounce that, sorry. 9, I can't pronounce. And the Panzer 4 Aust F, and then the G. Vomag became one of the largest tank manufacturers in the Third Reich. In October 1943, Vomag produced a prototype Jag Panzer 4 in competition with Alket and won the contract for its production. Vomag solely responsible for the standard Jag Panzer 4, although Alket later did produce a hybrid version in smaller numbers. Yes, I know that. And eventually produced at least 1,600 examples of all models. Okay, so we'll lose some supplies, a little bit of manpower. And so yeah, this to me is a perfect event. It mirrors reality. It doesn't allow us to I can't just spam. Obviously I could cheat and spam a bunch of these events in, but it doesn't allow us unless you're going to do that. And it costs some, and it takes away some manpower, and so we have enough right now, but if we were bleeding manpower, and we are bleeding some in this siege, I'm sure, but if we weren't being relatively victorious here, we would, okay, you guys might as well attack. I think we can hold Brest. We'll at least help slow that loss down. We would give them money for fuel. No, I'm trying to build my money up. Did we really just use, in a matter of 2 or 3 days, 30,000 plus barrels of fuel or whatever that is? No, I don't think so. Okay, you guys come back out here and patrol for these, because we're no longer doing shore bombardment, so get out there and put a nail in the coffin for those Soviet ships. Yeah, I was worried about that. I want to sort of... You start heading backwards a little bit. Either to take that out or keep these guys from crossing the river. Sort of like to at least hold that river there. I know I've pushed beyond that, and... Okay. We could use a little bit more off of our crude oil. Yeah, you come down here. You come back here too, just... Okay, large warship radar. Very good. Yeah, we'll stop that, even though we could continue on. I should, well, let's do some heavy cruiser. One of the big reasons is unless you can send the ships back into to be upgraded to themselves and get the benefits of later development, but without short of doing that, these don't upgrade your old ones, and often it's such a long lead time. Let's do armament first over armor. Ooh, lots of reinforcements needed. Okay, British raids the Adriatic. Okay, yes, this is no longer fun. I don't know that revolverheld is actively watching currently. Okay, they're stacked in here. Okay. But that is something I hope he's addressing. Okay, so form the SS Police Division, or units transferred to the west to retain and upgrade to a Panzer Division. Form the Kampf Group A. Okay, so which got lots of those police units that don't have headquarters. Where are you? You're in Ostrov. Well, let's send you this way. Deploy the Army Corps. Okay. No, I just made it. No, maybe I'll delete the other ones. Probably will. Yeah, I'll do that off camera though. Fahrzeug und Motorwerken FAMU GmbH. In Batlles factory, 2 types of Caterpillar tractors were manufactured for the construction industry and for forestry and agriculture. Products included tractors and diesel engines for stationary use and for shipbuilding. But in 1937, as part of the preparations for war, the Department for Special Vehicles was created during the war years. FAMU produced the Wasp at Breslau and Warsaw factories, and was also involved in production of the Marder II. Okay, now the Wasp is based on the 38T hull design. So now they very well could have been building or assembling or both 38T engines and transmissions and tracks. I'm not doubting that that's what they could have been doing, but that's what it's based on. And the Marder II is there's several versions of it, but it's all based on the Panzer II. Later ones being purpose-built off of the Panzer II. No, wait a minute, no. Sorry, I have that wrong. Sorry, I'm just, because what I write, I research. No, the Wasp is based off the Panzer II, isn't it? Yes, sorry, before you post all kinds of stuff. The Wasp is also based off the Panzer II, so those must be not off the 30. I'm thinking of the, what is it? The SIG 33 on the, 38T's hull. So these are all based off of the Panzer II. So so we can do that and get that. Great. The tank factories help tank production, obviously. So that by this time, Germany should be stopping all Panzer II production as Panzer IIs. But unless it's going to take away production, say, from a Stug 3, Panzer IV, because by by getting into February 43, the Panzer III as itself is getting a bit too outdated. But the Stug 3 isn't, and the Panzer IV isn't. So unless you're going to take those whole forms away, and which they did for, and actually it's sort of a vague combination, I think, of them, for the Hummel, the big 150 millimeter self-propelled gun. So unless you're going to do that, even more so, you need to use some other drivetrains, engines, and since you already have the tooling and the machine set up to make them, and a fair amount of spare parts, because you can, you know, switch spare parts around between the different models within the Panzer II, Marder II, whatever line. You might as well keep them in production. Now, the Wasp, I think, is a bit cramped. The sort of SIG 33 on the Panzer I hull, you know, the big boxy thing with the 150 millimeter gun on it, on that, carried only 3 rounds on the vehicle as ready ammunition. So they could only fire that thing 3 times before they needed more ammo. And so every one of those SIG 33s that you see driving around, I recently found a photograph, closely followed by one of the smaller transport half-tracks, not the armored types, the SDKFZ. I don't know the 9, but I forget the number, but was sort of the medium-sized ones. Followed them around with ammo for them, so that, and this is unarmored, so that although they, and you've seen some probably film footage of them being shot in a city levelly, you know, the gun just facing forward and a bunch of dust coming off, so they're using them as an assault gun to blow up a building directly in front of them. Presumably the target has some ability to shoot back. Now they may have tried to approach from an angle of the thing that isn't where the main enemy machine guns or whatever are lined up, but so that they're using the armored shield obviously to protect the crew, to use it as a direct assault weapon. And so guys running back and forth with the big heavy ammunition on those things, it sort of defeats the purpose of some of that. So it's a limited use. It's still a very good use of a now outdated hull, but it's still a very limited use. Where if you look at something like the Priest, which is the American, the Saxon is sort of a British derivation of it, is 105 millimeter self-propelled gun, you know, for artillery. I think the Saxon has a 25 pounder on it, if I'm not mistaken. But that's based off the whole form of the M3 Lee / Grant. So that's sort of what they continue to use, that the lower parts of the whole form of that, from my understanding, with some major changes. So, which is also somewhat similar to we give them medal for money, sure. Similar to a Sherman, but yeah, so we're just running it. And also, I'll tell you another problem we're talking about fuel here is not that I'm disagreeing with that these guys shouldn't have supplies or fuel, but it doesn't ever seem to get better. It just, unless and this is one of the major reasons I kept attacking, is to capture supplies. You see a lot of supply in here. I don't know if they'll shift it north, or if this has been captured and is drifting back, or if this is drifting forward. But and the reason, I think part of the reason there's so few supplies here, and where there's so much more supplies down here, is not so much the infrastructure, because we can look here, but this is eating all the supplies that are passing through here. All these troops. What I've noticed in a lot of games, that if I just before starting this, I had both some units on the coast, some units sort of behind the coast as a reserve, and a few more units that were sort of here. And these guys were, several of the units including out here in Cherbourg, were out of supply, because supply seems to get eaten by the first units, and they don't seem to send enough to get to the ones at the coast. So in previous games, sometimes I'll pick a port like here and actually run supply lines to some of these places out in Brest and here to keep them in supply. And so it doesn't seem to have a good supply paths through, which is not a good thing. Okay, you shattered. Fine. Actually, you know, hold it. Okay, pause. We're going to go. You stop your attack. You do that. You retreat there. Hopefully, you won't get overrun. But you'll also hopefully contain the expansion a little bit. And won't be fighting everybody, but just be fighting whoever decides to attack you. Okay, medium warship radar. Very good. So we're maxed out on that. But that now allows... Oh, well, cruiser... We're way too soon for that. So let's come over here and... Proves heavy cruisers. Flieger, Corps, Tunisian. Oh, okay. Where is that? I was expecting Tunisia. Oh. Okay. Let's move you up to Tunisia. Don't know why we were starting in Libya. Maybe if I read it, it would say why. And now we're running into Italian supply problems. Because we are moving it. Okay, good. It's actually not so much what I wanted to do, but okay. Yeah. Okay, unload. Okay, you guys get on board. Yes, that's what I wanted to have happen. You're gonna come up and reinforce. Temporarily rebase. We don't supply you out of there because we are limited on our supply capacity. Okay, so now you're out of that port. Now, that's the one I want. So let's... Okay, that's everybody I guess we have ready to go. Come down here. You come down that way. You can come back for later transport. Join the rest of the Indian Legion. Oh, we lost his commander to Vorbeck. Okay, skill. Okay. Now, here, we now have Vorbeck, Marines, camel trains, good. That's the new upgrade for TRE that happened. Well, let's attack there. Supported by you. Supported by you, because we don't want to go in, because I want to use you to attack other locations. But I want to, we can overwhelm currently these guys. Push in now that we have some forces there. Yeah. Can advance that way. You can come down that way. You can join in on that fight. Alright, we have more research we can do. Okay, well, let's improve our light cruisers. Okay, we got a bunch of units we got to pull out of the line. These guys out. I think I have plenty of units already there. Yeah, some more of the Jaeger divisions out, wherever they are. Here. Yeah, we don't want those shattering. And we'll bring the 102nd out, I guess, too. And that Army Corps, Ivy. There we go, you get out. Okay, that's pretty good, because we got a lot of these other units that they can move up to the front line. Okay, artillery unit. Combined arms has advanced. Good, that should help in Leningrad siege as well as other things, of course. Yeah, combined arms. And I'm presuming also our artillery unit training. Yes. And hedgehogs have advanced, and that is the naval technology. We'll stop that as well. That is a good advancement, but which will allow us to switch over to that. And we're okay, battle down here. We've won that, good. Alright, that can go back to producing more things. Still not able to accumulate much money. Alright, yeah, not perfect. Okay, well, we're going to end the episode here. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for liking the videos. I want to thank you for subscribing if you would. I love to see you around more often. And, of course, please post questions, comments, suggestions, ideas. Love hearing from you. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.